Venezuelan fighter jets, including the well-known F-16 models familiar to the Americans, recently flew over U.S. naval vessels, prompting significant concern from Washington. The Trump administration framed this as a direct provocation, with the State Department noting that military actions could follow such maneuvers under the current geopolitical climate. At the same time, Marco Rubio criticized the UN, claiming it is largely ineffective, while the U.S. judicial system labeled Nicolas Maduro as a leading figure in Latin American narcotics operations, raising complex questions about the organization's legitimacy and the role of international law post-World War II. Concurrently, President Trump announced plans to rename the Pentagon back to the Department of War, a symbolic move reflecting a shift from mere defense to potential offensive military actions. Alongside these developments, there was the European Coalition Summit, gathering nearly 30 leaders, including Zelensky, with France's Macron reporting that 26 countries expressed readiness to deploy troops to Ukrainian soil, a move indicating deepening international military involvement. Meanwhile, Chinese investments in Brazil have surged, more than doubling in 2024, positioning Brazil as China's third-largest foreign investment destination, a trend with far-reaching economic and geopolitical implications, particularly regarding U.S.-Brazil-China relations. In the Caribbean, the U.S. increased military operations, targeting vessels allegedly linked to Latin American cartels, including one with around 11 Venezuelans aboard. The U.S. claimed these ships were affiliated with the Ten Aragua cartel, distinct from the Soles cartel, of which Maduro is accused of being the head, highlighting the nuanced distribution of narcotics networks across the region. Although the UN indicates Venezuela is not the primary actor in drug trafficking affecting the U.S., and countries like Mexico, Colombia, Bolivia, and Ecuador play more critical roles, the U.S. intervention remains aggressive, deploying 7 military ships, nuclear-powered submarines, and spy planes. Venezuela, feeling cornered, mobilized its military and the Bolivarian militia, comprising 3 to 4.5 million civilians trained rapidly for national defense. In this tense environment, Venezuelan jets conducted reconnaissance-like overflights of U.S. naval assets, an act deemed provocative by Washington, yet arguably defensive or symbolic from Caracas. The U.S., meanwhile, emphasized that the Venezuelan-controlled cartel was strongly warned against obstructing anti-narcotics and anti-terrorism operations. Observers note that Maduro faces a convergence of internal and external pressures, with opposition figures such as Maria Corina Machado coordinating with U.S. actors to influence Venezuela's political trajectory. The renaming of the Pentagon to Department of War reflects a broader U.S. posture of signaling both defensive readiness and potential offensive capability, echoing historical patterns while adapting to contemporary geopolitical tensions. Concurrently, international discussions about the Ukraine conflict show alignment among European nations to potentially station troops in Ukraine, emphasizing collective security measures against perceived Russian aggression and the challenges posed by Putin's stance against peace initiatives. Economically, Brazil's landscape is shifting as Chinese investment continues to rise, surpassing $4.2 billion, nearly half of what the U.S. invests, highlighting Brazil's strategic role in energy, electric vehicles, and infrastructure. This economic pivot raises questions about Brazil's long-term industrial productivity and strategic autonomy, especially given the pragmatic but non-industrial-focused approach of Chinese investment. While the U.S. remains Brazil's largest investor at $8.5 billion, the growing Chinese stake could influence geopolitical and economic alignments in South America. Observers caution that depending heavily on a single foreign investor may carry risks, particularly when national industrial development is not directly stimulated, and potential shifts in U.S. or Chinese policy may alter Brazil's strategic positioning. In summary, the Venezuelan overflights, combined with U.S. military posturing, highlight ongoing tensions in the Caribbean influenced by narcotics allegations, domestic political struggles, and broader U.S.-Latin America relations. At the same time, the global context, including European military coalitions in Ukraine and rising Chinese economic influence in Brazil, underscores the complexity of current international geopolitics, demonstrating how regional actions can resonate globally. The strategic, symbolic, and provocative moves by Venezuela, coupled with U.S. responses, exemplify the delicate balance between asserting sovereignty, deterring aggression, and managing global perception. Economic factors, including foreign investment trends and domestic industrial strategy, further complicate policy decisions for countries like Brazil and Venezuela, while traditional powers like the U.S. recalibrate military, political, and economic tools to maintain influence. Ultimately, the Venezuelan-U.S. naval interactions are more than isolated incidents. They are deeply interwoven with historical context, strategic signaling, and the broader fabric of international power relations. Encompassing military readiness, narcotics control, economic investments, and global alliances, all contributing to a volatile yet strategically significant environment in both the Americas and worldwide.